Listen to this. The CDC ranks Oklahoma City right up there with Los Angeles in the number of gang-related murders.
Officers say on any given night in North Tulsa, some residents hear the sound of gunshots. And this is the aftermath.
You combine Oklahoma City and Tulsa per capita, they're showing Lawton is more gang members per capita than those two together, which is kind of scary.
He's from Oklahoma City. He's a certified Rollin 90s.
Oh, what set you from, cuz?
Neighborhood 90 Crip. That's my brother right here. He dead.
This video is intended for educational and documentary purposes only. It aims to inform viewers about gang activity within our community. Some of the information presented may be based on rumors or online sources and may not be entirely accurate. Nothing in this video is meant to promote, glorify, or encourage gang violence in any way. In Oklahoma, the Crips are very similar to the Crip gangs in California. They divide themselves into groups known as cars, like the Deuces or X2, and the Trays being X3. The X2 set tends to align more with the Neighborhood Crips and Rolling Crips, while the X3 set is more connected with the Gangster Crips and Moving Crips. Although the exact dynamics can vary depending on the location, the main rivals of the Neighborhood Crips are usually the Hoovers and the Gangster Crips. The only Gangster Crip set they associate with is the Fawn Hill Gangster Crips. They also formed alliances with certain Village Crip and Block Crip sets. While their exact origins are unclear, many believe the NHC started in OKC. In the 1990s, Oklahoma experienced a surge in gang violence, with gangs arriving in the late 1980s, primarily the Hoover Criminals and the Hoover Crips. The 5 Deuce Hoovers developed a close alliance with the 107 Hoovers, causing much of the existing beef to carry over between them. However, with gang politics being strictly enforced, some homegrown sets like the Panic Zone Crips were forced to change their identities. Originally, the Panic Zone Crips were known as the 5 Deuce Hoover Crip Gang, but when Los Angeles learned that they were using the name Hoover Crip Gang instead of Hoover Gangster Crip, pressure from LA gangs forced them to rebrand. This led to their switch to the Panic Zone Crips and an alignment with the Neighborhood Crips, with whom they already had a close relationship prior to the change. In the 2000s, the streets of Lawton, Oklahoma were heating up. Tensions between rival gangs were rising, and the Rolling 60s Crips were into it with the Hoovers. Little Tay Evil was a Rolling 60s Crip. He came up out of Dallas, Texas, young and active, but when his family moved to Lawton, the game changed. He brought his Texas energy into a city with its own politics, and not everybody welcomed that. Unlike Dallas, where the Rolling 60s Crips and Hoovers actually get along and even move together at times, Lawton was a whole different story. Out there, the beef between Hoovers and Crips wasn't just tension, it was war. Word was, the Hoovers wanted him dead. Allegedly, they pulled up deep to a house where Little Tay Evil was staying with guns out. They weren't there to scare him, they came to put an end to him. Inside, Tay caught a glimpse of them through the window. He then was said to have bolted inside and locked the doors. He already knew what kind of time it was. But what stopped it from turning into a full-blown murder scene wasn't a gun or reinforcements. It was a woman inside the house. She told the Hoover gang members that kids were in the house, and for a moment that was enough. Little Tay Evil knew he had just dodged death. It was too close. Days later, he packed up and left Lawton, heading back to Dallas. Little Tay Evil would eventually come back and get caught up by a snitch, and since his return, he's been in and out of Oklahoma prisons, staying active with the 60 Crip set.
Tell that bitch I love her, but I don't. I tell that bitch I love her, but I don't.
In 2010, Tulsa was in the grip of a violent gang war between the 47 Green Team and the Hoover Crips. The 47 Green Team is a homegrown Tulsa gang affiliated with the Neighborhood Crips. Known for controlling parts of the city, the Green Team doesn't officially claim Crip, but their alliances and enemies align closely with the Neighborhood Crip movement. They call themselves Codies, beefing with anyone who opposes the Neighborhood Crips. During this period of intense rivalry, Sean D. Hatcher, also known as 4 Years, was a member of the Hoover Crips. The shooting that took 4 Years' life happened while he was driving down the 200 block of East 43rd Street. The Green Team members reportedly became angered because Hatcher looked at them the wrong way, leading to them opening fire on him. Although the shooters initially escaped, one was later arrested for a different shooting and then linked to this case. These arrests were part of Tulsa's largest gang bust to date, but didn't follow through as both men beat the case.
Some of the worst Tulsa gang members are now behind bars. A 2-week-long raid called Operation Triple Beam, run by the U.S. Marshals Service, wrapped up today with 163 arrests and 46 illegal guns confiscated.
In July 2010, Oklahoma saw another shooting carried out by the Inglewood Bloods faction known as the Murder One Bloods. DeMarco Lennox, who has been said to rep the 46 Dungey Neighborhood Crips, had been at a nightclub earlier that night. Inside, tensions cracked wide open. A fight broke out between members of the 46 Neighborhood Crips and the Murder One Inglewood family Bloods. It didn't end at the club. Police believe Lennox was followed after leaving the scene. When he reached Northeast 36 and Westminster and Spencer, he was ambushed. A single shot to the head. It was intentional, an execution-style hit that left him clinging to life. He was rushed to OU Medical Center, but after nearly 2 weeks on life support, he died from his injuries on July 24th. Not long after, police arrested 21-year-old Stephen D. Harris out of Midwest City. A known affiliate of the Murder One Inglewood Bloods, Harris was booked into the Oklahoma County Jail without bail, facing a first-degree murder complaint. Despite the charges, Stephen D. Harris managed to beat the murder case. Sources say lack of witnesses and weak evidence made it hard for prosecutors to lock it in. The Hoovers are definitely the biggest gang in Oklahoma, no doubt about that. But right under them, the Neighborhood Crips are serious too. They're ruthless. Like the case of Lawrence Tennyson, also known as Bud. Bud was a highly respected and reputable 111 NHC member. Bud and his brother Quan T were believed to be shooters for the 111 Neighborhood Crips. They had been involved in many shootings with the Hoovers, and rumors circulated through the streets of Tulsa that Bud was responsible for the murder of Charlie Woo Summers, the brother of Philip Summers, who had been killed in December 2003. On February 23, 2004, a key witness named Greg McKinney said that both Phil Summers and Robert Fellows went into Bud's parents' home and shot the couple many times, killing them. It's believed that these two men did it to get back at Bud because they couldn't kill him, so instead, they got his parents. On April 7, 2013, Bud was shot multiple times and found lying in the middle of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. A few months earlier, a Hoover Crip gang member had been killed about a block away from the Tennyson brothers' home. But before the Hoovers could reach Bud, members of the 111 Neighborhood Crips ambushed him, killing him and dumping his body out of a car in the middle of the road. The reason behind this attack remains unknown. Despite the violence, several cliques within the 111 Neighborhood Crips, including the Kids of Death, still show respect for Bud. But since no one has come forward, the case has gone cold. But some of Tulsa's Hoovers and Neighborhood Cripsets did get along at one point, but a shooting on Christmas Eve in 2012 changed everything and separated them. That night, Sean Banks was killed over a gambling debt. Banks was with the Hoovers, but had started hanging around the 5-Tray Rolling 60 Crips, a smaller gang based around 53rd Street. His murder caused a split between the Hoovers and 5-Tray. 2 men were charged with Banks' killing, but the charges were dropped because witnesses gave confusing statements. Still, his death started a long-lasting feud between the Hoover Crips, 5-Tray Rolling 60 Crips, Neighborhood Crips, and the Bloods. In response, the Neighborhood Crips and Bloods joined forces with some members of the Green Team to form what's known on the streets as the Squeeze Team. This group combined the firepower of these gangs to target and attack the Hoovers. Most of the violence has been low-key, shootings at cars and homes, but the conflict has flared up over the years. In October 2014, Kenneth McNack, a Hoover Crip, was killed. Rumors said 5-Tray and Bloods members were responsible.
First responders arrived and saw a car that was sideways in the roadway, parked up on the back fence. Where it lies now, there is one deceased male inside that car, probably from a gunshot wound. Wouldn't classify it as a drive-by shooting. We don't really know how he ended up getting shot or how that occurred at this time. We do think he was pulling into the driveway there at a 7-Eleven, even though he has no connection with that address.
Then, on July 2nd, Elon Shaw was shot and killed outside a car wash in North Tulsa. Sergeant Sean Larkin, who leads Tulsa's gang unit, explained the cycle of violence. There will be a lot of tit-for-tat stuff, and then it blows up, he said. When older gang members return from prison, they bring influence that pushes younger guys into shootings. Back in July of 2007, Daryl King, also known as Juicy Juice, was ordered to stand trial for the murder of Mark Williams, also known as Capone. Capone was connected to the Hoover Crips, while Juicy Juice was tied to the Neighborhood Crips. At the time of the killing, Capone was expected to testify in a separate murder case against Lindell Dabney, who was charged with the March 3, 2007 shooting death of DeMonzo Washington. Jeremy Finch then stated that he was at a house in North Tulsa when he saw Juicy Juice walk up behind Capone and shoot him in the back of the head. At the time, 4 Neighborhood Crips were sitting around playing dominoes. After the first shot, Von Butler came from around the kitchen. Juicy Juice told him to finish him, and Butler fired another shot into Capone. But as Capone laid on the floor, Finch said Juicy Juice grabbed his gun, while Butler took a wad of money. As Finch ran out the back door, he heard a third gunshot, but didn't see who fired it. Later that same night, Finch said he saw Juicy Juice again at a West Tulsa apartment with a black backpack holding 3 handguns. Sandra Dowell also testified that she went to the house earlier that day to buy cocaine from Capone. She said it took longer than usual for someone to unlock the door. Inside, she saw 4 to 6 people loudly arguing. She couldn't tell what it was about, but confirmed Juicy Juice was one of the people in the house. On June 1st, 2013, Jeremy Lawton, a known neighborhood Crip gang member who was known as Deuce Lawton, fired multiple shots at a car driving through the streets near Northeast 29th and North Martin Luther King Avenue. The Rolling 90 Crips set up in this area. The shooting happened right after what the police called a heated argument between gang members. Deuce Lawton fired between 4 and 10 shots at a silver Monte Carlo that had Thompson and his friends inside. 2 people in the car were injured and 1 was unharmed, but James Thompson, who was 21 years old, caught a bullet to the head and he died the next day in the hospital. Prosecutors claim he was in the wrong place, wearing the wrong color, and got caught up in the gang fight. Deuce Lawton was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and 2 counts of assault and battery with a deadly weapon. The trial ended with the jury finding him guilty. District Judge Donald Deason read the verdict while Lawton showed no emotion. He was sentenced to life in prison. On July 4th, 2013, in Arcadia, Oklahoma, what should have been a family celebration ended in bloodshed. Garrett Harjo, 20 years old, believed to be a member of the neighborhood Crips, became the prime suspect in a double homicide that shook the small community to its core. The victims were 2 brothers, Donald and Diallo Scott. Both men had deep ties to the streets and were known members of the Bloods. Their criminal records stretched long: drug cases, weapons charges, domestic violence. They were no strangers to conflict. But on that July afternoon, around 5 p.m., gunshots echoed down the 100 block of West 4th Street. The Scott brothers were found lying in the street, both shot in the back. No chance to run, no time to defend themselves. But Garrett wasn't acting alone. He had traveled with a relative from Texas, also believed to be part of the Crips. Garrett fled the scene with his cousin, but was eventually caught and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the shooting deaths of the Scott brothers. On August 16, 2013, in the small town of Duncan, Oklahoma, what looked like a quiet afternoon turned into a headline-grabbing tragedy.
A few stories have incensed me quite like this one, the randomness, the senselessness of this killing. Tell me your reaction to it.
He was there and they were close, so they thought, well, let's just shoot this guy.
Christopher Lane was a college baseball player from Australia. He was visiting his girlfriend and enjoying his time off from school and decided to go jogging through a neighborhood in Duncan. But that day, police say 3 teenagers who were members of the Eastside Neighborhood Crips was driving through the town looking for someone to shoot. As they rolled through the streets bored, they spotted Lane jogging along the road. No reason, no beef, just a target. Without warning, Luna raised a gun from the back seat and pulled the trigger. A single shot cracked through the air. Lane was shot in the back and collapsed. People rushed towards him to help him, but it was too late.
What did he say? What's wrong with him?
58 minutes.
He said he's shot. Yes, he said he's shot. And he says he's been shot? He said he heard the shot. And he knows what the car looks like.
Initially, Luna and Edwards were charged with murder. Jones, the driver, cooperated with authorities and was charged as an accessory, but prosecutors later upgraded Jones's charges to first-degree murder. During court proceedings, prosecutors stated that Jones was also a suspect in 2 additional shootings, one that occurred earlier the same day and another the night before. On the morning of Lane's death, a donkey was found dead with 8 gunshot wounds, approximately half a mile from the location of the shooting. Authorities did not officially connect the donkey shooting to Lane's death, but the incidents occurred close in time and location. This was believed to be an initiation into the Eastside Neighborhood Crips. Reports emerged indicating that one of the boys' parents had filed complaints, claiming that the gang was attempting to recruit their son. According to the complaint, threats were made when he refused to join. However, it appears that the 3 boys had become bloodthirsty and increasingly violent, suggesting that the story may have been fabricated to protect them. The neighborhood Crips do have a history of violence toward those who refuse or no longer want to kill for them. For example, Spike from the Rolling 90 Crips was murdered because he wanted out of the gang lifestyle.
So 911. I think we heard gunshots. What the address to emergency? West 50th Street North. And I mean, you hear, I think 5 rounds. This man has been shot and he's on a porch, no face drive. We need him.
We've got officers and the ambulance en route.
Everybody, the boys banned. He's on the floor right here.
Where's the person who shot him? What's going on, man? Hey, who did this, my man? Where were you walking at?
I got in the rain.
Okay, so you're back. What's your name?
Sure.
Jaleel, stay with me, okay?
In 2015, tensions boiled over during what police say was a drug deal gone wrong. Edwin Harris, known in the streets as Bash the Rapper or Mr. Crip Crazy, affiliated with the 5-Tray Rolling 60 Crips, was accused of fatally shooting a known OG Hoover during what police described as a drug deal gone wrong. Authorities initially believed Bash pulled a firearm and fired multiple shots, striking the victim. He and another man, Norman Gaines, fled the scene but later turned themselves in. Throughout the investigation, both men remained calm and refused to make any statements. This eventually led to a lack of cooperation from witnesses and evidence being slim to none. With little to support the charges, the case fell apart, and all charges against Bash and Gaines were ultimately dropped. On May 22, 2016, police responded to reports of a shooting on the 4500 block of South Sunny Lane. When officers arrived, they found PBG member White Boy inside the car, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. White Boy was rushed to a nearby hospital but tragically died the following day. Authorities believe White Boy was in the parking lot of Wingstar and More when another vehicle pulled up behind him. At least 2 men exited the vehicle and opened fire on him. Police arrested the 2 suspects. Daquan Gay, a high-ranking member of the Rolling 60 Crips who goes by the name of Baby Dark, and a Rolling 90 Crip named Tanish Love, were taken into custody by the Oklahoma City Police Gangs Unit and charged with first-degree murder. During that same month, the Rolling 90 Crips' rise to power in the drug trade would come to a fall. At the heart of this operation was 90 Black and Bird, 2 high-ranking members who controlled much of the crack cocaine distribution in Oklahoma City. Alongside them was Chaos, an affiliate who helped manage the network. Together, they ran a drug ring with a street value topping over $1 million. This wasn't just street-level selling, this was a carefully organized business controlling territory, moving large quantities of crack and protecting their profits through money laundering. They involved family and friends in their scheme, using blank $1,000 money orders mailed out to California. There, co-conspirators cashed these orders, effectively cleaning the drug money. The crackdown came after a long investigation by the Oklahoma City Police, FBI, IRS, and the Postal Service. 10 people connected to the gang were charged. While most took plea deals, 90 Black, Bird, and Chaos went to trial. The evidence was overwhelming. Phone records, drug ledgers, and witness statements showed the full extent of the conspiracy. The jury found them guilty of conspiracy to distribute crack cocaine, manufacturing drugs, money laundering, and firearms charges. 90 Black and Bird now face mandatory life sentences. Chaos faces up to life in prison. In 2016, a shooting would take the life of C.K. Havoc, a known Murder One blood, and the little brother of an alleged 46 Neighborhood Crip member. What happened that day in Spencer, Oklahoma wasn't just another act of street violence, it was a deadly collision of gang politics, pride, and territory. C.K. Havoc, whose real name was Brandon Boehner, was affiliated with the 35th Hunted Clique of the Murder One Bloods. He had a complex reputation, family-oriented and loyal to those close to him, but on the streets, known for being reckless and unapologetic. He lived up to his name, Havoc, often showing up where others wouldn't dare. That reputation followed him to Kringland Park in the 5600 block of North Baker Street, deep inside 46 Neighborhood Crip territory. Word was, Havoc knew he wasn't supposed to be there. The 46s were in long-standing conflict with several blood sets out of Southeast Spencer, including the Inglewood family Bloods. But C.K. Havoc didn't back down from enemy turf. At the park, tensions escalated quickly. He was approached by members of the 46, and what started as a verbal confrontation exploded into a physical fight. In the chaos, 2 individuals pulled guns and opened fire on the crowd. When the dust settled, 2 people had been shot.
Out at an overnight rodeo, leaving 2 juveniles dead. Sheriff's investigators say the 2 young people were shot after a fight broke out. It happened near Northeast 50th and Douglas around 11 last night. We're told there were over 500 people at the rodeo at the time of the shooting. Spencer police asked the sheriff's office for assistance in the investigation. The sheriff says the shooting occurred outside of the rodeo and there may have been 5 or 6 people involved in the fight that led up to the shooting.
14-year-old Mark Carter, the younger brother of an alleged 46 Crip member, was pronounced dead at the scene. C.K. Havoc was also hit. He was rushed to the hospital, but didn't survive his injuries. The shooting rocked the community. Police later arrested Chantel Mims on a weapons charge, but couldn't confirm whether he was involved in the actual shooting. Rumors circulated, including one theory that a kid named YPZ from the Panic Zone Crips was behind it, but that was ruled out. YPZ had already passed away before Havoc's death. To this day, no one has been officially held responsible. Keandre Bowser, also known as YPZ, was shot and killed by two members of the Murder One Bloods outside his home on June 24, 2016. His death ignited a deadly feud between the younger neighborhood Crips and the Murder One Bloods. Fat Sam, a prominent member of the Rolling 90s Crips, emerged as a key figure in the conflict. In 2019, H.K. Droop, a respected member of the Rolling 90 Crips, was hanging out with other neighborhood Crip sets at a hookah lounge on Northwest 23rd Street between North Pennsylvania Avenue and Villa Avenue. During this time, a fight allegedly broke out inside between the neighborhood Crips and the Shotgun Crips, who are aligned with the Hoovers, main rivals of the neighborhood Crips. Both groups were then escorted out into the parking lot where a gunfight erupted. By the end of the shooting, one man was killed, H.K. Droop. His death, a heavy loss for the neighborhood Crips, fueled intense tensions and led to a series of retaliatory shootings.
I just heard this. Everybody in front of me on this side of the car started falling to the ground, crawling away.
In 2020, the violence that gripped Oklahoma wasn't limited to Oklahoma City. The streets of Tulsa were bleeding too. One of the most tragic losses came out of North Tulsa, where the long-standing war between the Hoovers and neighborhood Crips claimed another young life. Reginald Phillips, known as Reggie, was just 17 years old and a member of the 111 neighborhood Crips. Reggie was well known in his section, and older OGs had been trying to keep him from getting too deep in the mix. But on a Tuesday evening near North Frankfort and 51st Place North, a fight broke out between a group of young men, tensions that had been brewing between the sets. The situation escalated quickly. Witnesses said a white Chevy Trailblazer pulled up during the altercation, and Reggie was thrown from the vehicle, already suffering from gunshot wounds. The car sped off before anyone could catch the plates. Paramedics rushed to the scene, but by the time they arrived, Reggie was barely hanging on. He was transported to a hospital, but he didn't survive. He died shortly after. Investigators identified the shooter as Kanye Petty, known on the streets as Ye 4, a well-known figure in the 54 Hoover Criminals and no stranger to violence. Authorities believe the killing was not random, but a direct result of the ongoing gang conflict. On April 17, 2021, the Rolling 90 Crips would target a known member of the 456 Pi Ruse in Lawton, Oklahoma. Levante Lawler, better known in the streets as Von or Tay Balling, was a respected and well-known face in his set. The 456 Pi Ruse held weight in Lawton, and Von was active in that life. He repped his hood with pride, and that came with enemies. The streets in Lawton been divided. While some Crip sets found ways to coexist, the Rolling 90 Crips weren't playing politics with rivals, especially not with the islands. The war between Rolling 90s and anyone not neighborhood Crip in Lawton was as real as it gets, bloody, personal, and non-stop. Mr. GDK became a prime example of the Rolling 90s Crips versus everyone mentality when he was reportedly involved in the shooting and killing of a gangster disciple member in North Lawton several years ago. But on that day, Vaughn was outside. The details about what sparked the hit vary depending on who you ask. Some say it was retaliation, others say it was about respect. What's confirmed is that Vaughn was spotted by members affiliated with the Rolling 90 Crips and fired on. Vaughn was hit and left to die. Paramedics rushed to the scene, but the wounds were too much. He passed from his injuries, leaving behind family, friends, and a set in mourning. Lawton's police department moved quick. Word on the street pointed to a known Rolling 90 Crip affiliate as the trigger man. He was picked up, charged, and the case seemed like it would stick. But in the end, the killer beat the case. Whether it was lack of witnesses, shaky evidence, or street codes keeping mouths shut, he walked. This appears to be a recurring theme with the Rolling 90s Crips, especially following the case involving rapper C. Lane, who previously beat a murder charge in the killing of an alleged rival gang member.
New at 5, a Lawton man was acquitted in a 2023 shooting death, but he is still set to spend several years behind bars. Christian Lane was found not guilty of second-degree murder in the death of Elijah Jones, but he was still convicted on a charge of possessing a firearm after a previous conviction and was sentenced to 10 years with the Department of Corrections. He also faces other charges, including eluding police and contraband in 2 separate cases. He's still awaiting judgment on those charges his next day in court.
C. Lane, a high-ranking member of the 90s Crips with strong connections to the Oklahoma City set, is unapologetic about asserting that the ruthless 90s Crips dominate the streets of Lawton, Oklahoma.
That's the last kid about a hood stay out the north, man.
From 2014 to 2024, one of the most iconic and mysterious stories from Oklahoma is about four brothers, Bossman 1, Bossman Deuce, Tramp, and Boss Foe, all from the Rolling 60 Neighborhood Crips, all blood brothers, all caught up in violence, loss, and questions that still don't have answers. Some people say only one of the brothers is still alive, others say all four are gone. The truth is cloudy, a lot of things don't add up. It started with Bossman 1, a known name in OKC, respected in the streets, watched by police. He was shot and killed by the Oklahoma City Police Department. They said he made a sudden move during a high-risk stop. Bossman Deuce was the second brother. He was also killed by Oklahoma's police department. Officers said he ran and didn't follow orders, but people who knew him say he was trying to get away because he didn't trust police after what happened to his brother. The third brother, Tramp, was killed in 2019, but not by police gunfire. A rival gang member caught up to him and left him for dead. No one was caught at first. Later on, police said someone was connected to the murder.
Suspect they were chasing this afternoon could be a man linked to two different murder cases here in the metro. I want to show you what the scene looked like earlier this afternoon. But after that suspect got out of his car and ran away near Northwest 10th and Rockwell. Now, police say the chase started near Northwest 39th and Lake Hefner Parkway. It went through War Acres before the suspect got out of the car on 10th and Rockwell. That's where officers set up a perimeter to try and find him. A K9 unit was also sent out, but they still never found him. Now, officers did take a woman into custody who was in the passenger seat. Now, police say that man, the suspect, could be armed, and if you have any information, give them a call tonight.
And Boss Foe was the youngest. In 2024, he was hit by a car and died. On October 6, 2024, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a teenage boy was shot on the highway. It was gang-related. The shooters were part of the 111 Neighborhood Crips. The victim, Ja T.C. Williams, had ties to the Hoovers. That night started at the Tulsa State Fair. Williams was there with some friends, who also were members of the Hoovers. A fight broke out. People say he was involved. Nobody knew it then, but that fight started something deadly. Later that night, Williams and 6 others left the fair in a small SUV. They got on Interstate 244, thinking the night was over, but they were being followed. A white SUV pulled up. Inside were 3 members of the 111 Neighborhood Crips, Kyler Naley, Colby Glenn, and Jace Reddle. Then the bullets flew. The SUV Williams was in got lit up with gunfire, windows shattered, and he was shot along with another teen. They made it to the hospital, but Williams' injuries were too serious. A few weeks later, he died. This sparked significant controversy surrounding his death, as the 3 Crips involved were white, while the Hoover member was black. The tension quickly spilled over into the streets, leading to multiple shootings between cliques aligned with the Neighborhood Crips and those affiliated with the Hoover sets in East Tulsa. In the same month in Oklahoma City, the Neighborhood Crips kept backdooring NHC members. For example, when a member of the 46 Neighborhood Crips was hanging out in a parking lot with other alleged members, a Rolling 60 Crip approached and fired several shots at the 46 member's face, killing him instantly. He was an alleged OG of the 46 Neighborhood Crips, but nothing was done about it. Fast forward to May 9th, 2025. A drive-by shooting happened in Tulsa, involving 5 people and a child. They were all in one car when the shots were fired. Police later confirmed the child was riding in the car illegally while the shooting happened. The people involved were tied to different gangs and neighborhoods. George is from 46th and Boston Avenue, home to the Rolling 40s. Jaden and Joyun are from 53rd and Hartford Avenue, Rolling 60s. Marcos is said to be from either 47th, known as the Green Team, or 49th in Johnstown. Police believe the shooting was carried out on the Hoovers. They arrested all 5 suspects soon after. Nobody was killed, but this could have ended worse, especially with a child in the car during gunfire. On April 21, 2025, a Westside Boot Hill Crip OG was supposed to meet someone near the infamous Relaxin' Motel on Northeast 23rd Street, a location known for crime, drug activity, and violence. That night ended in tragedy when he was shot, and his body was found the next morning in a nearby grassy field. While the exact motive remains unclear, many believe it was tied to a drug deal gone wrong. The man killed was known as Cowboy. The Westside Boot Hill Crips are a Crip set originally from the city of Phoenix, Arizona, who recently aligned themselves with the Neighborhood Crips. They are known for rocking Dallas Cowboys gear as part of their identity. Although not officially Neighborhood Crips, they share similar colors, signs, and enemies, often working alongside or maintaining alliances with them. While in prison, members of both sets are often celled together and align under the same pods. The Neighborhood Crips have solidified their connections with most gangs that align with their politics, using their California ties to expand drug networks while avoiding murder charges. Just as Los Angeles gang members would flee to Oklahoma after catching a murder case, Oklahoma members would do the same, retreating to California. By the time they return, they often come back with even stronger California influence. In 2025, a newer Crip set has expanded from Long Beach into areas west of Oklahoma City and Lawton. Although it's unclear exactly how long they've been established here, their main cliques are the 3,200 and 2,300 groups. Though small, they remain very active in the region. They are allied with the Westside Neighborhood Crips and have a rivalry with the Hoover Criminals. Tensions between these sets remain high. For example, a West Coast 80 Crip member once spotted a 2100 Lash Gang member entering a store, which sparked a violent fight between them. These confrontations have led to multiple shootings. The Hustler Crips have even aligned themselves with the Moving Car set to challenge the Neighborhood Crips, though not all gangster Crip sets acknowledge this alliance. Gang banging has had a devastating and painful impact on the culture, with children as young as 9 becoming fully involved in gangs, willing to risk their lives for something they don't even truly understand. If you know any kids or teens who are involved in or showing signs of getting involved in gang activity, please contact your local police department. Early intervention can provide them with the support and guidance they need. Let's work together to protect and uplift our youth. Thank you for watching another episode of Hood 187. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment and subscribe to the channel.